Okay, trustees, we are live. We are recording. Phone lines are open. Go for it.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the regular meeting of the East Hampton Town Trustees for April 22nd, 2024. I'd like to open with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Marlene, can you do payroll, please?
Yes.
Payroll. Roll call, please.
John Aldred.
Here.
Francis Bob.
Here.
David Cataletta.
Here.
Patrice Stolten. Here. Ben Donald. Tim Garno. Jim Grimes.
Yes.
Celia Josephson. Here. And Taylor.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. Move on to public comment. There's nobody in the room. Matt, do we have anybody on the phone lines?
You have 0 callers. Thank you.
Okay. Old business. Trustee contribution to piping plover monitor intern for 2024 season. John?
Yeah, I spoke to Kim Shaw, Natural Resources, the other day, and actually also our colleague, our former colleague, Susan Keeber, put the 2023 piping plover report done by Natural Resources on our website. And Kim was just wondering, last year we contributed to the salary of piping plover monitor and the piping plover program. And we've talked about wanting to continue that, I know, but she was asking if we had discussed it recently.
John, I may be mistaken. I think we had an informal discussion about this a few months ago, and that we would likely want to do it, but I think it has to come to a vote on the board.
I agree. That's why I brought it to the board.
You know, now the only loose end here, I'd like to make a motion that we engage ourselves in this. The only loose end is currently our accounts are frozen as part of this Truck Beach lawsuit. So whatever vote we take is going to have to be pending the release of that fund or articulation of what we're allowed to pay out of the accounts right now. So I'll make a motion that we approve this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Allison, can you just put that page 3 of that piping plover report? I just wanted to give you the snapshot of how things went last year. Today I asked Natural Resources if they would be interested in giving us a presentation of the report, and they said they would for next meeting. So, okay. But this is the snapshot of the results. It doesn't look great to me. I mean, it was only 32 nesting pairs and 7 of which were successful, creating 15 fledglings. So
where did they count? All of the areas?
that's the whole total for all the areas, yeah.
Of East Hampton.
I don't recall them putting a barrier up at Last Point last year, I don't recall.
I think
Well, there may not have been any nesting. There may not have been any nesting pairs. Hey, how did that compare with last year? Did they give you
Well,
that?
you know, if you scroll down to maybe page 12 or 13, or Allison, there's a graph for the last 5 or 6 years.
I gotta tell you, it sounds like somebody's gonna invest in Viagra or something for these freaking piping plovers. stop practicing safe sex.
I don't think, and you know, they're trying, but they're
You see that
losing.
okay?
No, below, keep, the next page down, there's a graph. I hope.
Sure.
Yeah, something's wrong there.
Mhm.
Oh,
It's a,
I know what it is. It's because your thumb drive is out. It was loading it from the thumb drive.
yeah.
That's why. I'm sorry about that.
It's a low year,
Yeah,
and it's been trending low since, I think, 2016 or 17. But it also spiked up from previous years to 2016 to 2017,
They're
so.
probably no longer monitoring most of Napi, right?
They have to, they do Breezy Point.
No,
in the
that's
city and
private
stuff.
property. They can't do that.
They go through Breezy Point in the city, they go,
Okay.
they monitor stuff every.
Yeah.
That I think they could probably do.
No, but
And you know,
I'm just wondering if it's
Fish and
part of it. I'm
Wildlife
curious as to
mandates
whether it's
this
part of the report.
yeah, I think
There's the
it's
graph.
low.
Because that would, bring the
Excluded
numbers down.
areas. Because last year I asked them why didn't you put up the barrier? And they said there were none,
Mhm.
at last point. There was no reason.
Protocol,
Right,
they have to see nesting activity.
right, so they didn't see
They have to See
any.
a scratch, if they don't, yeah, so it's,
But if we knew what sites they actually had nesting activity at,
well,
either way,
it's in the report.
The last,
I don't want to be the one to really,
the
right,
last few
Articulate the
years since
report.
2019, it's kind of been trending down.
yeah,
They're coming next meeting to report.
that's the plan.
That's the goal. 'Cause, yeah, that's the lowest it's been since 2008. It's pretty low.
Right.
yeah.
there's,
Allison, were you able to get the language on the motion that was just passed? I thought that came out a little bit unclear, so just want to make clear for Allison and for the record that the motion that was passed was a motion to approve of the seasonal piping plover observer, subject to the resulting clarification on the current restraining notice from Attorney Catterson on the trustees' operating accounts. Okay.
Anything else on that?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Is anybody on the public comment?
No. Next, we have a resolution to collect a fee for special events on East Hampton Village trustee beaches. Has everybody had a chance to read that and consider it?
I read it. I think it's very good. Yeah, I agree.
Anything else?
Can we just give a summary of conditions for the public?
You want me to read it?
Can you ask me to read the resolution, or you were looking for more than that?
Just a summary, so people, unless we're going to read the resolution anyway.
Pause. Can I ask you guys to speak up a little bit? I'm having a hard time hearing everybody this evening for some reason.
Sure.
Just so that I can make sure to capture everything. Thank you.
Okay, so presently the village charges a fee for certain special events on public properties in the village, and that includes the beaches. They've offered to collect a fee for the trustees for those same events. And so basically, this is the resolution allowing them to do that and do the vetting of those applications for the trustees. I don't have in front of me the exact conditions of which events are to be charged for these permits. You don't have a copy of it, do you, Allison?
Yeah, I think that was fleshed out in the resolution, wasn't it?
There's some things not included.
Like the size? So like,
Yeah, it has to do with the size, it's catered events, it's,
Pretty much anything over 20, I believe, and anything catered.
right, so
Pretty much everything that happens on those. Not exactly, but if it's catered, it's required.
right, there are some exceptions. So it's all in the village code. So anyway, do you want to read it or do you want me to?
I'll give it. Resolution adopting fee structure for private events on trustee beaches within East Hampton Village jurisdiction. Whereas the trustees of the freeholders of the commonalty of the town of East Hampton are the owners in fee title of certain beaches located in the village of East Hampton, including but not limited to 2 Mile Hollow, Old Beach Lane, Highway Behind the Pond, Ocean Avenue, Main Beach, Acabog Road, Georgica Beach, and certain beaches between. And whereas the town trustees hold these beaches in trust for the public and have the inherent authority to regulate the uses of those beaches, including the authority to issue permits for certain uses such as special events and mass gatherings. And whereas the town trustees hold these beaches, have determined that the size and number of private events and mass gatherings have been steadily increasing, as has the use of private contractor services for such events. And therefore, in order to better manage these events, the issuance of permits and collection of fees is proper. And whereas beginning June 1st, 2024 for the 2024 season, in an effort to streamline the event permit process for applicants, town trustees in the village of East Hampton, the village will work in concert. The village will include a one-page East Hampton Town trustee application for their current application packet, as well as collect a separate $300 trustee application fee to be paid directly to the town trustees. And whereas the village of East Hampton shall see to it that the town trustees be named as additional insured on the applicant's certificate of liability insurance. And now therefore be it resolved.
1 second. What's missing here is this goes into effect June 1st. That's missing from this copy of the resolution. Oh, you did? Oh, you did?
Beginning June 1.
Beginning.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't get it.
Now therefore be it resolved, the town trustees agree to enact and accept the Village of East Hampton's application approval process, thereby enabling the village to handle all permitting for all private events, mass gatherings on beaches within the village boundaries and within trustee jurisdiction. And that's by order of the town, the trustees of the freeholders, commonalty of the town of East Hampton.
Is there a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Yeah, let's see different copies. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I do have that. Let's see. This is the town. Okay, moving on. Committee reports, agriculture, resolution for taking of soft clams and razor clams.
So I know you discussed this briefly at the last meeting. I don't know how in-depth you got with it, but there's dates outstanding in the resolution, and I guess, I don't know, do you want to discuss what the appropriate dates should be before we read the resolution, or start reading the resolution and stop and fill in the dates when we get to them? It's basically when the resolution is in effect, and then what the dates would be for applicants to make application for permits, special permits to do this, and then what the opening date of the season would be and what the ending date of the season would be, and what dates, if any, we would want records of catches submitted to the trustees by?
I thought it was May 15th through September 15th. Is that right?
What's May 15th through September? There's no dates on this at all.
No, there's no date. It says quarterly.
Well, that's the record keeping. Well, this resolution is based on last year's, or the last time we did this, that resolution. We asked for quarterly submissions of catches, and we didn't really, it wasn't really very successful that we got things on that basis.
Yeah.
It seems to me that it's a little excessive, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe either we should ask for, well, first of all, it's like, how long are we going to enact this for? And the way I look at it is, if we approve it starting 2 weeks from now, will we run it for a full year to next April or May? Or should we end it at the end of the year? And I think it might make a little more sense and be a little cleaner to just run this to the end of the year. And then we can pick it up next year and see how it went. So if it goes from May to the end of December, we're not going to get the response necessarily if we ask for 4 quarterly catch record things. So I would suggest we either ask for sort of a halfway and then a final, or just a final. I don't know how the board.
I think just a final.
Yeah,
So,
makes it easier.
End of season, estimated catch record, end of season, makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
And you know, that could really come from like a spokesman for the group there.
Right. So in terms of, if we adopt this tonight, the dates, starting tomorrow, applicants could make application, and that would last for 2 weeks. My understanding is that would be enough time for us to notice the opening of the season and the special permits and all that. Gives us 2 weeks, and then it could open 2 weeks from today.
So we go with one report at the end?
Yeah.
And that will be December 15th?
All right, December 31st, I
Of
guess.
December 31.
Okay, so resolution adopting the taking of soft clams and razor clams in trustee waters. Following resolution was unanimously adopted by the trustees freeholders of the commonality of the town of East Hampton. Whereas section 213-10B of the town code prohibits the taking of shellfish in any manner other than by hand power. Whereas section 213-16B of the town code prohibits the taking of soft clams between May 1st and August 31st of each year. Whereas section 213-18 of the town code recognizes the trustees' authority to alter the methods, equipment, and permissible dates for the taking of shellfish in such areas as the trustees shall designate. Whereas section 213-18 of the town code authorizes the trustees to issue special permits entitling holders to take shellfish from designated areas under certain conditions as set forth in chapter 213-18. Whereas the Baymen of the town of East Hampton have requested that the trustees authorize the taking of soft clams or razor clams by holders of commercial shellfish permits from trustee waters by the method known as churning or powering. And whereas in the past, the trustees have received similar requests and been advised that churning performed properly will result in little impact of a harmful and or serious nature, and that it is possible that sets of bivalves in the target area could be advantaged as the churning impacts may tend to reduce predator populations. And whereas the trustees have authorized the taking of soft clams by powering or churning on a number of occasions in the past, and those experiences have not been proven to be detrimental to the shellfish population or the environment, yet it is beneficial to the economic well-being of those who rely upon town shellfish resources for their livelihoods. And whereas to limit any harmful impact on other users and to maintain a sustainable fishery, the trustees shall place a restriction on churning or powering, one, from May 15th through September 15th within, that should be from May 5th, that's not right. I'll say for the period of this activity within 100 feet on either side of a road end or other vehicle access point to a harbor. 2, at any time, any area containing eelgrass or widgeon grass, plus areas seeded with oysters within the past 3 years, clams within the past 5 years, and scallops within the past year, as delineated on seeding maps published by the East Hampton Town Shellfish Hatchery. I've got some kind of a strange copy here. Now therefore be it resolved, notwithstanding the permissible dates and methods for taking of soft clams set forth in sections 213.10B and 213.16B of the Town Code, the trustees hereby designate and approve the following special season and designated areas for the harvesting of soft clams or razor clams by the method known as churning or powering between sunrise and sunset on all Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays during the period commencing and ending, May 6th, 2024, and ending December 31st, 2024.
What's the end date again? I'm sorry.
December 31st, 2024. Inclusive in all waters certified for shellfishing, except within 100 feet of a road end or other vehicle access trail or kayak rack area through the period, and at any time in any area containing eelgrass or widgeon grass and oyster gardening locations in any area seeded by East Hampton Town Shellfish Hatchery with oysters within the last 3 years, hard clams within the past 5 years, bay scallops within the past year, delineated on seeding maps published by the Town Shellfish Hatchery. Only persons who possess a valid applicable Town of East Hampton commercial shellfish license shall be eligible to participate in the special season described in paragraph 1. The special season shall be subject to such conditions, rules, and regulations as the trustees shall impose thereon. 3, by the authorization of and under the conditions set forth in chapter 213-8, special permits, the trustees will issue special permits to otherwise eligible persons to participate in the special season described herein pursuant to section 213-8B. Application for special permit may be made between April 22nd, and May 3rd, 2024. Actually, April 23rd to May 3rd, 2024. At the trustee office, 267 Bluff Road, Amagansett, New York 11930, during normal business hours, applicants must produce their valid Town of East Hampton commercial shellfish license, a New York State driver's license, or other New York State identification, and pursuant to Chapter 213-8B2, applicants must, at the time of application, execute a sworn statement under penalty of perjury that the applicant has not been convicted of a violation of this chapter or of former Chapter 125 within 1 year prior to the application therefore. 4, anyone found guilty of violating Chapter 213 or the former Chapter 125 within 1 year prior to the date of application shall be ineligible for a special permit. Further, the trustees will strongly recommend to the court that it revoke the special permit for any special permit holder subsequently convicted of a violation of Section 213 or the former Chapter 125. 5, the special season shall authorize the taking of soft clams or razor clams by the technique known as churning or powering with the propeller, and only on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays during daylight hours only, and during the time frames and in the areas specified in paragraph 1. No other out-of-season method of taking is authorized. 6, no permit holder shall take more than 2 bushels of soft clams or razor clams per day from any or all of the areas described in paragraph 1. All clams so taken shall be placed in either wire or plastic bushel baskets. No person shall possess any quantity of soft clams and or razor clams that do not fit flush within said baskets. 7, any boat containing soft clams and or razor clams in trustee harbors on days when churning or powering is permitted shall be subject to the inspection by the trustees or the harbor master. 8, a record be kept by each special permit holder on the quantity of soft clams and or razor clams harvested by location and date. This record, which will be confidential and for the purpose of trustee understanding of the state of the resource only, shall be supplied to the trustee office at the end of the period. 9, all other provisions of Chapter 213 shellfish shall remain in effect within the areas designated in this resolution. Be it further resolved, this resolution shall take effect upon the filing of the same with the East Hampton Town Clerk, posting as set forth in Section 213-18 of the Town Code, and shall expire at sunset on December 31st, 2024.
Did we say where the end of the period was anywhere earlier than this page? Like, did we say it's December 31?
Yes,
Therefore clause. Oh, now therefore, okay,
for the second page.
got it.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks, John.
You want to take a break, John?
so they'll have to have an off-road vehicle permit, right?
To drive on the beach.
Yeah, so maybe we should say that is a requirement, because the way it reads, I think they can just go on the beach without it. I don't know.
Well, it's only available in commercial
You can't
payment.
go on the beach without a permit
No,
anyway.
This might be sort of a redundant thing to put in there.
I want you to read the whole thing again for a change.
All right, next we have guidance for Dr. Gobler's 2024 water quality investigations. Are you doing that one also?
So,
Drink of water?
well, this is really a board discussion. I mean, we heard the report, 2023. We normally get together as a group, sometimes ourselves, and then with Dr. Gobler, or sometimes as a group with Dr. Gobler, to talk about what we want to do next year. We haven't been able to get a group together, so I thought I'd just bring it into the meeting and see if we can come up with some, what we want to see for 2024. Two things that I had in mind that I'll just throw out there. One is, and for the board's consideration, one is last year we agreed to tack on the Lionhead ponds, Swan Pond and Pond Lane Pond, to the Hog Creek sampling at our expense. And we said we would do it for 1 year. We might want to consider doing this again this year because there were some interesting results the first year. The community hasn't really, they've applied for grant funding and been unsuccessful to do some remediation work, some extensive remediation work. Anyway, it's the board to think about whether we want to do that again.
John, you wouldn't have to know what that additional expense was.
I don't think it was ever carved out as a single
It's a separate
figure.
item.
It's a separate item.
Okay.
None of the harbors have their own figure attached to them. And it was a fairly, minor addition to the work that was being done anyway.
How does everybody else feel about that?
Yeah, I think it's worth doing. The results were strange. The two ponds are like
Very different.
very close to each other, and the results were completely different.
What is the second pond? There's Swan Pond. What's the other one?
Pond Lane Pond, I think it's called.
I guess the only comment I have is about public access and the lack of it.
Well, that was the reason we agreed to do it 1 year.
Right.
And we asked the community to step up and, consider, buffers to the ponds from private property and installation of IA systems on, especially properties adjacent to the pond, close to the ponds.
It might be nice to hear from the community and the surrounding property owners and get some sort of a report from them as how successful. I know they applied for some grant applications that they weren't successful at, but it might be nice to hear from them and hear what actions they actually have taken there. Is it possible to wait on this just a little bit? I know Chris probably, it would be beneficial for him to start really in the next week or two.
Yeah, it's kind of usually starts pretty soon. I'm sure you could take samples and not
Tell you what,
process.
you know what, then I would make a motion to approve to continue this, but we need language in there that contingent upon them coming back to us with some kind of plan before we get any deeper into this.
Well, if you recall, they did come to us and outlined their extensive proposal for, grant funding. That was not accepted. They did submit
Yeah, but
another proposal to the Water Quality Committee this
There are
last
actions
round.
they could
But
take.
there's actions on an individual
Yeah,
property owner basis that could be
Well,
going on there that are
they're all
they? Maybe
waiting for
they are.
public funds to do this, you know, maybe we're just spinning our tires.
I'd like to know if they reduced clearing, like individual property owners, has there been any
Well,
mass
that's what
clearing?
my curiosity
Yeah.
is here. Was there any voluntary
Yeah, as far as I know.
compliance here? I know when they came to us the first time they did that proposal, it did seem to all hinge on somebody picking up the tab other than the individuals in the community, which, I don't know, I felt like, you're not really showing an interest to put your own
Right.
resources.
Is there a homeowners association there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So-
part of the problem. They're not allowing public access to these ponds.
And they have it blocked off with a 10-foot fence.
Oh,
I mean,
Well, there's paths that go to the beach and they bypass the ponds. There's a
Yes.
path past each pond. And there's a sign at the road that
Yes.
says homeowners only, or
Yeah, I saw that.
association members only.
Yeah, I agree. Those ponds are in really bad shape. Those are some of the worst.
Well, the one was, did show signs of
Yeah, I agree with
extensive.
Jim. We want them, we want to show that
Yeah,
they're
you don't
on
want to
board.
discourage them, but at the same time,
Are they putting in IA systems? Are they doing that stuff?
they are.
Not that I know of.
it would be nice if we had some inkling on their end of how they're going to take and utilize this data that was collected last year and now this year. Okay, we're spending the money on this, but as a community, what are you guys doing with it?
Right. Well, I have a question about use of the ponds. Does anybody swim in the ponds? So it's just for looking at them. So in terms of remediation, is it sort of just a long-term plan or is it something more acute?
Well, they did come to us a year or so ago with a sort of grand plan of Phragmites removal, cutting, things like that. But at the time,
Rain
John,
gardens along the roadway.
yeah, John, at the time, you recall, on an individual property owner basis, it seemed like the proposal fell a little short because all of this was occurring beyond the property, the individual's ownership, property ownership. So the opportunity to sort of develop a robust buffer wasn't really offered to a great degree. It really did kind of fall short. And that may have been part of the failure to get grant funding on these things.
Are there grant proposals are they still
Well,
working?
they
on?
ratcheted back this last round and only asked for the Cornell portion, which was to identify the inputs of nitrogen, high inputs of nitrogen. That wasn't recommended by the committee, for many of the same reasons we've been talking about.
Yeah.
But one thing that I don't want to put this all on the private, the roadways there are town roads. And the drainage system of the roads basically heads to the ponds.
Well, it heads to the ponds, and keep in mind that those drainage systems, the structures, the drainage design was not installed by the town. Okay, those were installed by the original developer on these properties.
But approved by the.
And through whatever process at that time, because these things are pretty old. So
And I should say that Natural Resources and the Highway Department have been in discussions with the community, Lionhead community, about, working on that problem.
Are they maintaining them?
Well, the Highway Department does maintain, their,
maintains them to the extent that they clean the sand and
That's what I
still
mean,
have
they
the
clean the
catch
silt
basin.
out.
but a lot of this is really funneled directly with open pipe to the pond.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily just overflow.
Yeah, it's a huge
Catch basins.
There's a huge culvert.
But then there's a significant watershed, which are the properties themselves, the roads themselves. Not everything that falls in the road gets conveyed into drainage systems. A lot of what falls in the roads basically gets conveyed through swales, and stuff ultimately finds itself either into the harbor or into these ponds.
And a lot of what gets into the drainage system comes off the private properties that are utilizing lots
Yeah,
of
so like
nitrogen.
if it could be a situation where, you know, there's participation on several different levels. I mean, I think when we originally talked to them, a little like the Little Northwest Creek community is, you know, when the community itself, like, would pay for that Cornell, let's say the Cornell research out of their own pockets, it demonstrates an interest on the community to get the ball rolling here. And, you know, when a lot of these agencies, the review process for the grants, they don't see that. Well, you know, you're just looking for free money at that point.
So do we hold out a carrot for one more year?
That's what I was, that was
Yeah.
really what I'm making a motion for.
Well, do we go ahead and just do it this year in hopes that they
Yeah.
will make an effort?
Yeah, and we can have some, you know, hopefully we can have some discussions. Maybe we can have them come back, visit us again, come back with a proposal with what they have in mind.
And we
And
can show them this recent data. You
Yeah.
know, here's what happened when, you know, so if you want to,
and
Well, they've got the data too.
but I think we should have them back here, you know, sooner than later. And then you're right, we kind of propose one more year if they're going to, you know, help and be on board. And
right, there's a motion out there.
second,
All in favor? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that the property I looked at today, which is on the Clearwater side, it's the same grade situation. The grade goes down and everything goes into that pond. You know,
Does it front on the pond, that pond?
is it what pond?
Does the property front on that pond?
Backs on, yeah.
Right.
Yep, they're, so it's that whole area and
Yeah,
water's
Clearwater-
just going down.
The whole Clearwater drainage system is very similar. It's
Yeah.
all funneled
It's all from
into
about the same time.
culverts.
That was the state-of-the-art engineering at the time.
Hey, listen, it's,
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
aye.
Yes,
Anyone opposed? Okay.
So that's one thing. The other thing that I thought the board should consider is this year, last year, 2023, we put a little extra effort into, we did sediment work in Accabonac between the inlet and the launching ramp. We've got that information. We did sediment work and some additional temperature and other conditions in Napeague Harbor.
I would like to continue that if we can.
We could consider that. I thought we should also take a look at Northwest Creek in a little bit more depth. It's another thing on the agenda later down dealing with Northwest Creek. You know, we've talked about this environmental dredging that we might be interested in farther down into the creek to allow better flushing, hopefully. There was a proposal application made by Natural Resources back in 2019, I think it was, to do that as part of the next dredging project. That dredging project took place last year, didn't include that. If we get some additional data from Dr. Gobler on Northwest Creek sediment, similar to what we did in Accabonac, you know, quality of sediment, type, grain size, things like that, depth of the sediments, maybe some additional temperature data and other conditions in extensive conditions in the harbor. If we ran that high-cat autonomous vehicle in Hog Creek
it's a
to
very
show
good idea,
temperature,
John.
we put some effort into Hog Creek, we might have more ammunition to bring to the county to get them to
Well, I think
consider that environmental dredging.
Northwest, you mean, for Northwest?
I think the other area we should continue to do some seasonal testing on is Little Northwest Creek, because as you have it farther down here in harbor management, we're going to need to, we've got an intact permit there, but we're going, before we do the next dredge over there, we're actually gonna have to modify our permit a bit. Realign, do a different alignment of the, that Little Northwest Inlet cut. When we did the original application there, DEC kicked back and said, no, we don't want you to cut into that dune that was to the northeast. And they basically forced us to align it a little bit to the northwest. Well, the area basically, we haven't gotten the mileage out of that dredge that we had hoped. There's some issues, flooding issues that are going on there, and it's a consensus from the community down there. Francis and I have been there to look at it as well, that we've got to go back to the DEC and basically give them an update of what we perceive is going on there, what we think the remedies are, and before we go and just willy-nilly dig it out again, I think we should realign it. Now, to do that, I'm going to need some authorization to get a proposal out of Drew to basically apply for and engineer that modification. If you guys just give me a verbal here tonight, I can move forward on that.
What do we need from Gobler? What would we need?
Just need to have him continue to do some seasonal testing there. We want to know what, the water quality is coming out of there, whether there's any difference, whether we're seeing a deterioration of the water quality from last year's numbers. I think all of that data is going to be sort of important to make our case for this modification.
Did Gobler do Little Northwest?
Yes,
He did it originally, but
he did it, I think he did it last
as
year.
part of our, water quality.
I think he was going to do it last year because part of the conditions of our permit there is basically doing follow-up.
I didn't see it in.
Yeah, it wasn't on the.
If he didn't do it, we're going to make sure it's on there this year.
And so we're going to ask to cut through the dune, is what you're saying.
Basically, yes.
And who's going to justify that? That's an engineering justification?
It's an engineering justification. We've spoken to several members of the community down there that have the knowledge of what it used to be and how the inlet was aligned before. And they've kind of reached out to me, and I've asked them, please forward me a narrative on what your recollections are here. Forward any old photographs or anything that we can use as part of our documentation. I don't think it's going to be that heavy a lift, but it's going to mean going through the process. The other thing that I would like to do on a second round of dredging there is when we got the permits the first time, we misunderstood what the bottom material was farther into the inlet. So we were regulated that we could only go so far. After we poked around there, we realized that there is beach compatible sands farther back in that inlet, that on another round of dredging, we should try and work this back a little farther.
We could get the Gobler people to help validate that.
Yes, and that's the hope here. Yeah. And we did the same thing. Actually, we did the same thing over at Little Northwest or Fresh Pond, the Dreen over at Fresh Pond. We had that where they wouldn't let us go back, and then ultimately they allowed us to go farther in and do a better job.
So how do you want to handle giving Chris this guidance? Should we meet with him? Should we?
Yeah, we could actually have a phone call with him. I don't know whether we need to actually meet with him.
To Zoom?
Do a Zoom.
We can do a Zoom, because it's one of those things, he can look at the area, the current aerials on Little Northwest, look at them and say, hey, we need some sampling just outside, we need some sampling back in the creek.
So if you go all the way down the creek, remember where Al Stoudinger had his little dock there?
No, we're not talking about Northwest Creek.
Oh,
We're
okay.
talking about Little Northwest Creek
Oh, Little Northwest.
over towards Sag Harbor. It's on the other side of
It's in
Barcelona.
that Nineveh community.
Yeah, that was what couldn't get the geography right of what you were saying.
Yeah.
Used to be called Rattlesnake Creek.
Yeah, Rattlesnake. The creek splits farther up to two, and I think one of them is Rattlesnake Creek.
Okay. It'd help to have a map,
Yeah.
I can look on my own map.
Yes, it's a project we have going on.
So,
Just
yeah,
gonna continue it, modify it a little bit.
we can also think of the other issues we want to bring up about his report when we talk to him in like a week or two, whenever we set that up. Or if there's
You
anything
have
else.
other things you want?
No, I'm gonna, maybe, but no, these will be the issues we discussed, but if anyone else has any other.
With the grain sizes and stuff in Accabonac, is doing it again gonna give us any new information?
No.
I mean, it's like a one and done kind of thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to know what the, consistency of the bottom is and the depth. Some of that mud is very deep.
I'd like them to use that, put it up in the mark.
Oh, see, that's-
Here or through here.
We don't need to keep taking the
Shallow
same,
and sandy, they can't.
Right.
we don't need to
So
keep
would that
gathering the
be
same
like
information.
I don't think it's gonna get any
Overton's
less
fish
muddy.
station?
Yeah,
I got it. Yeah,
you
thank
got
you.
it.
All right, so who's going to set that up with Chris?
Well, I can set something up. The question is who's gonna participate?
I'd like to participate.
Yeah, I'd like to participate.
There's gonna be a difference in funding with some of this
We
stuff,
got a
right?
quorum
Yeah,
situation.
Need 4 people,
Okay.
max.
Okay, I was involved in Little
Yeah,
Northwest Creek from the start. I'd like to be there if I could, thanks.
Yeah, if I can.
So, whatever.
Just see who's available and
Well, let's set the 4 people now, all right?
All right, that's,
It's the 3 of us and either David, Bill,
I'll do it. So I know Northwest pretty good.
David's on the committee,
Yeah.
Northwest Committee, I think. and Seemed to have some interest in something in particular.
Yeah. Yeah, all right, that sounds good.
Okay.
And so I'll try to set something up late in the day. 5 o'clock
Yeah,
can we do it maybe this week?
yeah, this week.
This week is gonna be hard for me.
I'll give them like a heads up as to what we're thinking about.
Give me a
and
heads
Try
up,
to set something up
next
for
week
next
would
week.
work. Honestly, because you know what it is, I'm already scheduled for the whole week, on Saturday. I've usually scheduled myself. for the
So
whole
I'll
week.
try next Tuesday, next week.
Yeah, after 3 o'clock, anytime after 3.
All right, and if that doesn't work for him, I'll shoot for Wednesday.
Yeah,
Is that all
sure.
right?
Yep, 30th and the 1st.
All right. Water management,
I think we just covered that.
DPW, Suffolk County DPW request for 2024 dredge priorities.
Well, I think that's something that's come to Natural Resources. Every
Right.
year they
That
ask what the
usually
priorities
what
are.
we do is we have a meeting with Kim. She has ideas of what
I talked to her last
Yeah.
week.
Hey,
and
on a different, like it's on the same subject. Francis and I had a very brief conversation with Ed Romaine a few weeks ago. And I gotta say, he was very receptive, somewhat enthusiastic about some of these environmental dredging projects. And he actually asked us to put together something, send it into him, and he'll set up a meeting on his end with his people. For, you just mentioned it, Northwest Creek, Napeague Harbor. He's very interested and would like to do anything he can to help there.
Okay, he might be helpful with the
The
Yes.
Northwest
county
Creek thing,
dredge.
that's like totally set up, you know. It's just a DEC, you know. I mean, they've done a lot of work. I remember doing a lot of work getting, gathering the information we wanted to do and stuff. It's just the DEC, I guess, wouldn't go along with it.
Yeah, well, that's one of the benefits, I think, of getting some new data from Gobler that, the DEC really can't ignore. So I spoke to Mark at Natural Resources. He's got some recent MS4 data from the EPA or whoever does the MS4 information. So, he's made application in the past. He's made the applications in the past, so he's been helpful.
Here, Mr. Romaine would be very helpful.
Yeah.
Listen, if you've got somebody that's interested, willing, we've got our representative out here is a supporter of what we're trying to do.
So in terms of the 2024 priorities, I from talking to Kim recently, she seems as though the soundings, they have data from Accabonac soundings in the inlet that show shoaling. So it sounds like Accabonac is probably a priority. She's spoken to Jim Bennett from the Harbor Master's office, who's looking into what's going on in the Three Mile Harbor Inlet. And they just did Northwest Creek last year, so it sounds like it's probably going to
If
be.
they do Accabonac, is there any chance that they can push that farther back?
I don't think they'll be able to do it now until the fall.
Yeah, but it's not sand. Dredge farther back.
Oh, dredge farther.
Because they don't even go to the launching ramp, do they?
Well, that's why we wanted to get,
Farther back towards the launching ramp?
Yeah,
That's why we need settlements.
that's why we wanted to do the sediment.
yeah, but I think we did the settlement.
we just
last
did it.
year, didn't we? So what did they find?
He just took sediment samples within the inlet. He didn't do
did the
soundings of the inlet and.
That's, it doesn't matter, I mean, the soundings,
I don't think there's a
All is relevant
problem
is-
with depth, except where that bar forms off the
The
point
county's
that we have to
problem-
keep digging back.
the county has always said they wouldn't go to the launching ramp for the last couple of times because the material in there wasn't beach compatible. Now, if we can show them it's beach compatible, they should go to the launching ramp, which is what we're trying to do we're trying to get the area between the launching ramp and where they stop the dredging done, because that's the main problem in that town. So I guess we have to review.
I asked Francis about, could they take off that point that they took off a couple of
That's
years
part-
ago
that's
and
actually
grew
in the
right
chart.
back? But he
That's-
pointed out that if they do it, we can't
We can't move it
sand
further
down
than the beach.
south
Like
to,
No, we can.
No, we can't. They
Yeah.
don't allow us to touch anything that they're doing.
No, they put it in a certain spot.
They refused to last year.
Well, that could be something we could talk about.
I think what they do is they won't put it any further down than the last place they left it. At
Yeah.
one time in the past, we took it from that spot
Yes. We brought
and moved
down.
it further
We moved
down.
it farther down.
Okay.
They won't themselves move it.
actually might not be a bad idea, because I was down there today fooling around with one of the kayak racks, and whatever storm we had recently knocked
I
the
saw
kayak
that. I
racks back,
took
Oh, yeah.
pictures.
but it also scoured that whole
That whole thing is
area
scoured.
where they had put the spoil, and it's all gone. It's probably
It's
went
now,
right in the,
well,
right
it's a
into the
straight
harbor.
That's why,
sheer thing.
that's why we
To
don't want it
handle
on
that
the
same
point,
material
because it goes
over
right
and
back
over.
to the county. That's why we've been moving it down
Yeah.
to like
You weren't able to repair that rack, were you? Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
The last time I was dealing with them about that, the county would only put it as far as just past the last, where they'd done the last dredging. And that's fine, that's what we came to, because even in the management plan there, that's considered a dredge spoil storage area. You're allowed to move it from there, and our permits from DEC allow us to put it all the way down to, where it's gonna stay and be useful. Yeah, so.
John, are those mooring posts still all up? Just quickly, the mooring posts we numbered there?
Oh, yeah, that's well inside.
No, I know, but did you see if they're good for this season?
Last I looked, they were
Yeah,
fine.
okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them since the winter.
No, this is, the racks is on the bay side, where there was southeast blow, I think.
Yeah, where all
recently
the
that
stakes are, there's never.
pushed them all
it's not
back.
like an erosion problem.
No, I know, I'm just checking, just following up. We did that 2 years ago now. I want to make sure they're still in.
Yeah, no, they're still all right.
So do we have these dredge priorities worked out?
Yeah, although we probably should have a discussion with Kim if we want to, talk about going all the way to the launching ramp. I don't know what the.
Yeah, I mean, we
I
can
don't
put
think
it in
the
for it.
county's done soundings in the main inlet.
Mhm.
I don't think they've done soundings.
We can request that the
Might be
county's
something
gonna do
we-
what they're gonna do.
Yeah,
Start discussions on for
the official,
next round.
the official permit and the lines of the channel and all that stuff go to the launching ramp. But the county has in the past said that the material close to the launching ramp is not beach compatible, so they didn't want to dredge it.
All right.
So if we can show them it is beach compatible, they'll dredge it.
We may have that information.
I think we have, that's why we got the information
There you
last
go.
time.
How about the water quality? You're going to do that too, right?
It's the John Show.
It's a
tonight.
water quality.
It's the John show, man. We didn't even actually need to come tonight, John. You could have taken this whole meeting.
Make you the
yourself.
quorum.
That's because I missed the last meeting.
One thing I noticed at Last Point, there was a sign where it says no driving past this point.
Yeah, that's missing.
It's missing.
Yeah, so we
And
have
that's
to.
important because some guy went down there with like a tractor and he, these huge tires.
Yeah, we'll get two new signs.
Yep, I'll send
And
it.
I'd like to see two signs put up
Yeah.
this time,
They always,
one closer to the beach, because they always ignore the
I'm not sure
one.
where you're exactly talking.
There's a sign that says no vehicles beyond this point. It's
Beyond
supposed to be
what?
300 feet from the point.
300 feet from the point.
Yeah, because that's in the driving regulations. You can't go there.
It's in the code.
So you get on the beach at the curve and you can go north, except you have to
You gotta
stop 300
before you
feet
go
from
to
the
the
point.
end, yeah.
But it's plover fencing up there.
Fence, right.
Yeah, there was always sort of like a spackle bucket full of cement with a sign
Yeah.
sticking out.
You put that sign up on the top.
You have to go
so it doesn't
find
get
it.
washed away next time it's a
They're not gonna-
southeast blow.
They won't read it. Oh, dig it out and put it back?
Now you can go around it, it doesn't block me.
Would you like to talk about the water quality?
So the round one of the water quality grants was just recommendations were made to the town board, and the town board made final decisions on whether these applications would be approved or not. So I'll just read off the list of approved projects. First one is basically Rowdy Hall. That was an application made by a former owner, and they never got to it, and so it's a reapplication by the new owner. That was approved for $100,500. Let's see. Most Holy Trinity Church through, I'm gonna get this wrong. through an office in Stony Brook that's associated with the Gober Lab that does basically clean water technology. Proposed I gotta get my notes here. Proposed a wetland system.
So constructed
Constructed wetland, yeah. Constructed wetland treatment system, which was quite expensive. It was to take care of the parish hall, the administrative office, and the church. And that was proposed at the eligible amount was $445,000. The committee made a recommendation that be approved, but left it up to the town board about the amount that they might want to approve. The town board failed to approve that project. That's in the watershed of, it's fairly far away, but it's in the watershed of Hook Pond. The previous one, Rowdy Hall, is in the watershed of the Atlantic Ocean. So the third project that was approved by or recommended by the committee was Hero Beach Club in Montauk. That's been in for quite a while, and it's been back and forth because of there's new construction proposed there. There's site plan before the planning board, but the committee recommended that the existing structures, an IA system for the existing structures be funded at $200,000 cap. And that was approved by the town board as well. That's also in the watershed of the Atlantic Ocean. Fourth project that the committee recommended was Fort Pond Partners. That's the Harvest Restaurant. That's for an IA system at $87,100. That was approved happily by everybody. And the last project that was approved was for the Peconic Baykeeper for an Applegate Harbor eelgrass restoration, $36,060. And that's the project that we permitted, Peconic Baykeeper and Robert Vassiluth, who wants to glue eelgrass seeds onto seed clems.
What was that amount?
$36,060. So that's that.
All right.
Thanks, John.
Do you have the total handy? Or I could tally it myself. Both projects.
I didn't add it.
I can do that.
You know, there's total project cost, there's money that's requested, then there's sort of an eligibility, an amount that's eligible, and that's through some whole formula.
Oh.
So the numbers that I cited were the eligible awards, the amount of the eligible award, not necessarily the amount of what the project would cost. A lot of these projects cost a lot more than they get an award for.
All right. Next, records and websites. Michael Hansen has submitted his 2024 proposal for continued website maintenance. David, do you want to do that?
Yeah, I looked through it. It looks great. It covers everything we've asked him for. And he's been sending updates. Hopefully you guys can check those out. And they've really showed our viewership's going up, the last
Really, that's great.
year.
Yeah,
And
it's become a very professional
yeah, it's very well
website.
done, and a lot of just up-to-date, data, current events on there. So I make a motion to approve Michael's proposal.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, last but not least, payment of the bills. We're gonna skip the first one. B, Wittendale's, $217.25. That was for the coronations for the parade. And Staples for $139.65.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
I second it.
Okay, and this is all,
Contingent on our accounts being unfrozen.
all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, does anyone have anything else they wanna?
I'm just curious about the first one that we're overlooking.
We'll get into that after this. We're gonna meet with our attorney.
I was going to say, if you haven't checked out the scholarship applications, there's some really good applications, so go read them and
Very impressive budget.
choose, yeah.
Is it-
When did they do?
The 28th, I think we're done by, 20,
Next Monday, a week.
so yeah,
Allow yourself time.
It's a,
We're really
very-
good.
some of
very
them pretty long, yeah.
complete. And we have like 7.
Yeah, it's good to know we're in good hands, hopefully in the future.
It's all really good stuff, too.
I have a very minor question of the board, which has to do, I was recently asked about a group that wanted to put a bench in an area near Settlers Landing. I'm just wondering whether that's something where the trustees have any say
Well,
or.
where are they going to put it?
Exactly. Well, I have a picture that was sent to me.
I think it's the town, right?
Well, the town,
Well, it goes, typically
on the
those
beach.
those benches, if they're not on the beach, and for the most part, we do not recommend putting benches on the beach. Usually that goes to Nature Preserve Committee first. Nature Preserve Committee then writes a recommendation. The town board ultimately has to approve it.
This is a picture here. It's near Settlers Landing.
there's a regular process for that.
Okay, so, and generally it should go through the town, not through us?
To the Nature
If it's on our
Preserve,
property, I'm sure they'll ask
To
us.
the nature
Yeah, I don't know
Nature
what's on
Preserve
the road.
Committee?
of the town.
Yeah, I'm on that, so you
Oh.
can just email me.
Oh, okay.
I didn't-
Yeah, it's a simple answer, no.
Where is it?
That's not going to happen.
Or it still go to,
It goes to Nature Preserve Committee.
Okay, thanks. And also there's a litter cleanup at Lazy Point on 9 AM, May 11th.
Is it May 11th? I thought it was earlier than that. That was
No,
the
it's
3rd
May
or
11th.
4th.
It's the trustee
Weekday, isn't it?
cleanup and the litter committee cleanup are both doing it together.
Okay,
So that's
yeah,
why it's May 11th.
I'll put it in my, because I'll plan on trying to be there.
Where is that?
It's at the
Lazy
landing
Point.
at Lazy Point, May 11th at 9 AM. It's Saturday.
anybody else? So motion to close,
Motion to close.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Bye.